Chapter 8 Nalas Nalanda's Journey to Return to Wisdom. Since Nalas Nalanda incarnated as a human to carry out his mission, the scenery in heaven is still the same, and it is as if they have not changed at all. In addition to playing, the children reveal the lesson they have learned together. Sometimes they talk to each other to remember the lesson content. Other times they are taught by Yak and Jup about experiences and methods to overcome suffering as humans. The two messengers, Yak and Jup, stay to maintain their mission here and to help and protect the form body of Nalas Nalanda on his journey to return to his enlightened wisdom. Jup takes on the additional duties of Sung and Hoang. Yak, in addition to his mission, is taking on the other responsibilities of Fab and must constantly observe and follow all developments on the practicing journey of the first Tuệ Linh. It is not the first time the five messengers have taken on each other's jobs to take turns transforming into humans with Nalas Nalanda. However, they still have indescribable emotions during his human incarnation this time. They were filled with excitement, emotion, and suspense as they watched the progress of his journey on earth and the anticipation of meeting and practicing his knowledge when they incarnated as humans. While working on the tower together, after a moment of calculation, Yak said to Jup, according to our plan and calculations, the time has come to inform and awaken the connection between the Father and his body general already. That body is 29 years old, has finished getting married, and has children. Tonight, when he sleeps, the two of us will go into his dream and awaken Father to the task that must be performed. So good. These important milestones make me sobbing and nervous. Look, he's already starting to go to sleep. I probably won't be able to forget these moments. It would be great if I could remember these memories while living in the human world. Yak immediately replied, "Stop dreaming. The rules cannot be changed. Let us wait for him to fall into a deep sleep and enter his dream." The early spring days of the new year in a poor countryside were very peaceful. The early days of spring make people everywhere feel hopeful and wish for a new year filled with joy and success. He, the form body of Nalas Nalanda, fell asleep on a cold night. That sleep washed away the ups and downs and hardships in life that he had gone through. He was indeed in a deep sleep. Seeing that scene, Yak and Jup become emotional and challenging to describe. Both saw aura-like signal from within Nalas Nalanda's body that signaled the time had come for them to go and see him. Having fallen into a deep sleep, Nalas Nalanda suddenly felt himself standing in the middle of the house at night. Out in the yard, the light from the moon illuminated the scene, making it clear when viewed from inside the house through glass windows. At that time, in his awareness, he was unsure whether this was a dream or reality, because tonight was the first moonlit night of the year. He couldn't differentiate between the dream and real life scenes every time he fell asleep because it was so real. He often dreams of locations that do not exist in the human world, which are strange and beautiful scenes that captivate the human mind, as if some invisible connection made him believe in what he saw in the dream. He believed that his words, emotions, and action were his soul. He truly believed in the soul and what he knew in his nights of sleep, including his foreknowledge of the future in his dreams from childhood. Everything that was known in advance happened precisely. That's why he enjoys those things and often tells those stories to friends and relatives. While engrossed in looking at the moonlight shining through the glass windows, it shines on himself. Suddenly, Nalas Nalanda heard a strange breathing sound, and it was not similar to the breathing sound of any animal on earth. He became curious, opened the door slightly, and stepped out into the courtyard. Listening to the direction of the breath, he walked to the garden on the left side of the house. He was startled to see a jade-green dragon staring intently at him, its big and long whiskers curling with a strange breath. Its body was curled into 6 sections, and the head was close to the ground, looking at him. The tail was at the top. At that moment, he instinctively became frightened, ran straight into the house and closed the door. He tried to look through the window in bewilderment. The dragon suddenly flew past the front door, and his eyes continued to look at him. It then passed to the house front yard and transformed into 2 adult men. Something strange attracted him to step out and approach the 2 men. While standing in front of them, one of them said to him, "It's time for you to practice. Our world is in danger and time is running out. We have magic and miracles, but we can't teach you. We will direct you to someone to study." When those 2 said the name of the person he had to come to study, the 2 disappeared. At the same time, the rooster crowed continuously, waking him up from his sleep. Although it was still dark, he couldn't sleep. He immediately sat up and recalled all the events in his sleep. He took this as an indication that his soul was linked to them. At that time, he still did not know who he was or who his soul was. Everything remains vague about the spirit world and the invisible. After that, he thought and believed he would meet the person the 2 men told him about last night. A few months later, he met the person he was told about in his dream. After a period of meeting, he believed that person was indeed the person he had been informed about. Only then did he tell his story to that person. Although that person could not teach him, he would lead him to meet the woman. According to him, this woman has spiritual abilities to help Nalas Nalanda's body. After thinking about whether or not he should see her to learn the so-called miracle, he decided to see that woman in a few days. He hesitated to go because he had many people who wanted to teach him about spirituality and miracles, but he refused. He didn't want anyone to be his teacher. On 2 consecutive nights, before he met that woman, 2 messengers continuously went to sleep to inform him. The first night, a messenger transformed into an old man came to his house and said, "You have to study quickly. Time is running out. Heaven sent the person you are about to meet to teach you." But it seemed he still suspected something, so he didn't answer the older man. On the second night, an older woman came to him and told him the same as the older man had said, but he also had no answer. On the day he went to meet the woman and the man who was initially informed, he met him in a skeptical mood. The 2 messengers knew that Nalas Nalanda human form and wisdom still did not believe what they said, so they continued to go to sleep the night after he went to meet the woman. This time, the older man and the older woman appeared before him. They repeated, "We can't teach you. You should study with that woman for 1 year, and you will finish it. Everything awaits you, and you must complete the study plan." However, he did not answer when the 2 messengers returned from his sleep. Yap confided to Yak, "It is difficult to awaken Tuệ Linh when in human form to live in the human world. If not for the Father in his body, perhaps we could not succeed in awakening and connecting the brain intelligence and Tuệ Linh inside him. With what he did, we were successful. The Tuệ Linh within him is awakening and will receive back his memories and wisdom when he goes through all the painful experiences in this life." Time passed very quickly. The day he finished his experience of studying the Dharma was almost over. However, he was highly disappointed because he thought he only had to learn for 1 year, but no, he had to study for another 6 months. In particular, he did not know anything or have any magic. Instead, the teacher only taught him rituals to pray to heaven, to hope for someone to have money and status. Because he was so disappointed, he looked at the sky and said, "Why do you show me someone like that to learn from? I can't learn anything. There's nothing good to learn, and I only see ignorance from the teacher." I tried to listen to her. I had to convince her to let me complete my study according to her instructions. I'm very disappointed in you. His faith seemed to have collapsed after more than a year of studying. Out of frustration, he burned all the notes he took during the study period. When he burned them, he thought, "I can't use them. It's so ignorant. How can I use rituals to solve human suffering and problems? Someone may be afraid of people in heaven, but I'm not. So I burned everything I wrote down from people in this so-called paradise. I'm not afraid of being punished or doing anything by those who live in heaven. I'm recognized to have finished my study in the new year spring. I don't know what to do after that. Why didn't those 2 spirits meet me from that day until now? Maybe they see they're wrong, so they don't want to see me." With the bustling atmosphere, everyone, every family is happily preparing to celebrate the new year. One night, while sleeping, he suddenly felt himself sitting in the temple of Nalas Nalanda. He was sitting in Nalas Nalanda's place, and many people were listening to him. His words were profound and majestic. When he heard them greet him and heard what he said to them, he was surprised. Two emotional states were intertwined at that time. One was the state of the Tuệ Linh myself, and the other was the state of the brain wisdom. They linked together. Then he suddenly woke up in the middle of the night. He couldn't sleep anymore. He tried to reassure himself and assumed this was just an ordinary dream, not a message or memory. In the following days, he encouraged himself that it wasn't true. His soul couldn't be that Tuệ Linh. Whenever he thought about that scene, he feared that he had offended that Tuệ Linh. However, his soul does not let him have a peaceful life like other small people. One cold winter night later, when he was in a deep sleep under a warm cotton blanket, he stood beside a lake in heaven. It was tremendous, and the extraordinary thing was that he could see the tiny stone emitting a brilliant blue light. The water surface has no ripples. He was standing and immersed in the contemplation with his eyes looking out to the lake. Suddenly, a Tuệ Linh stood behind him and greeted, "Father, congratulations on waking up and returning to visit our homeland. I have completed protecting your body and awakening you in his form body. Now, my father's body and human wisdom know who the soul inside is. That is very difficult to accept. Thank you for protecting my human form and for the awakenings that allow me to connect wisdom with that form. I'm inside that body, so I'm the owner of the form. I know how to control the body to complete the task. That form does not know that the person he has had to study for more than a year is also my previous life teacher. He must go through that experience to see the ignorance of people and Tuệ Linh. Of those who know psychic abilities, he needs to have my intelligence. When he burned out the things he had written out of frustration, it was my control to teach the human mind to know right and wrong, emotions. In the coming time, I will take my human wisdom with me on a tour around the universe, revisiting the memories of my human life in the human world. I will gradually pass on all my wisdom to the human wisdom of my body. Then he wake up. Like every time, he sat up and remembered everything he saw and knew in the dream. In the following days, he learned to accept that the soul inside him was that Tuệ Linh, especially after he knew that he had to study for more than a year with the same teacher who taught him in his previous life, and now he understood that teacher. Because of that, after he finished learning from that person, he decided to go to her and preach enlightened knowledge for 3 hours to her. However, she was uncomfortable listening to lectures about enlightened understanding. In the following months, every time he fell asleep in the dark of night, his human wisdom was carried by the Tuệ Linh inside him. Everywhere in the universe, throughout the memories of his human lives in the human world. But in reality, the wisdom of the Tuệ Linh transmits essential knowledge to the brain. When the brain intelligence receives complete knowledge from the Tuệ Linh, the body, wisdom, and Tuệ Linh merge into one whole. This process of returning wisdom has helped him gain knowledge about the truth of the universe, humanity, the origin of humanity, the mission of Tuệ Linh and humans, and the path to liberate suffering through the knowledge of the two noble truths. Now he has been teaching that knowledge. He had many classes and many students. They come and go after a learning journey. His wisdom became more and more perfect. He upgraded his enlightened knowledge each year to becoming more profound and comprehensive. During the difficult years on the journey to return his wisdom and spread it, he never thought of stopping or giving up. Once, he looked up the sky on a bright moonlit night and said, "My body will vow to devote its entire life to the mission of Tuệ Linh. The Tuệ Linh in me is my father, my master. I'm a child of Tuệ Linh. Every breath, every cell in me is giving and fulfilling the mission of a great father." He always feels great and happy because next to him there are people. Inside them are wonderful Tuệ Lins, and they accompany him on a journey of spreading knowledge of two noble truths. They were always by his side in the most challenging times, encouraging and cheering him. Besides, countless people he had never met learned his knowledge through others, through modern means of society. The sick, those drowning in suffering, have studied the knowledge of the two truths and have overcome it. They continue to share that knowledge. That truth is happening and it will not stop. Since this knowledge is the most wonderful in the universe, it is being used to benefit humanity and the Tuệ Lins. Following the journey of Nalas Nalanda in human form in the human world, Yak and Chap become emotional, tears streaming down their cheeks. They are happy because the father has been successful on the road to fulfilling his mission in the world. They were delighted when Nalas Nalanda successfully transformed the yin and yang energy embryo into a dual energy filter when his body was 35 years old. Before that, it was just a single energy filter. After only 6 years of practicing and spreading knowledge, with ups and downs and hardships, he overcame and even completed the first task. That's why the yin energy superparticle has a brilliant jade-green color, and his yin and yang embryo produced several other super energies. Now he is carrying out his second mission of spreading the knowledge of the two truths to unite humanity, helping all Tuệ Lins and people in humans eliminate toxins and transform yin and yang embryos to become sustainable. While immersed in emotion while thinking about him, Yak and Chap were surprised to see him come to visit. After greeting, Yak immediately said to him, "The second great salvation of living beings is real, Father." "Of course, it's real. I'm doing it." Yak, following his mission, should remind him. After the three entered the sparkling golden energy space, he immediately said, "We are also teacher and student of the path of enlightenment. Only we can produce super energy particles." Then Yak told him, "We now have two Tuệ Lins qualified to transform the original yin and yang embryo into a single filter, Father. I see that in this light of your practice, you will have many Tuệ Lins qualified to transform the yin and yang embryo into a single filter. That is our joy, the joy of the whole universe. Also, the negative energy superparticle produced is doing a good job of protecting the universe from attacks from outside destructive energy. Other super energy are doing their job as well. We still have one important thing to do: save the earth so that the practice environment of the island is not destroyed. We will try to save as many people as possible. Then he returned to his body while the body was still asleep.